Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to our first post Head of the Charles live stream broadcast at Ready Row USA. I'm the producer, Charlotte Pierce, and today we are starting, we're looking ahead to the next season, and the first regatta of the next season is allegedly or reportedly or traditionally the San Diego Crew Classic. So we have the San Diego Crew Classic director, Bobbie Smith, on today, and Napoleon Griffin will be grilling her about her team and why this is an important regatta. So welcome to Ready Row USA. You can find all of our broadcasts at readyrowusa.com. So when we schedule one, we'll put it up there, and there's a live stream player. We love to have people join live. You can ask questions of our guests live. So if you know in advance who's going to be on, you can come up with some questions or share your own experiences about rowing. So I'm going to bring Napoleon on. Whoops. First, we'll get the logo off your face. There you go. Welcome.
Thank you.
Over to you, Napoleon.
All right. I'm looking forward to speaking with Bobbie. I don't see her on the screen yet. All right. Welcome. There you are. It's magic. So nice to meet you. I have heard about the San Diego Crew Classic. Before I moved back to the U.S., I was living in Puerto Rico, and I used to watch the San Diego Crew Classic every year. And I always had this goal to want to race in it. And I had the opportunity and the privilege to race in the San Diego Crew Classic this past year. Well, it's still 24.
I didn't know that.
I raced.
Who did you race for?
I raced for Texas Rowing Center.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, I was there, and I was able to see my UT ladies race because I was there to see them as well. But it was such it was like a life goal checked off the box, because I would always watch this race every year on YouTube when they would have the live streaming, all the multiple days. And I always think, God, it looks so pretty out there. It looks so nice. Look at the water. And you would see the roller coaster in the back with SeaWorld, and the little can't think of what they call it, where it goes across the sky.
The tram?
Yes, the tram. And I just was always like, God, I want to race that. I want to race that so bad. And I finally had the opportunity this year. It was wonderful. It's some choppy water at times, but it was definitely
I will
a lot
say,
of fun.
Were you rowing on Friday? Do you remember what day you raced?
Let's see here. I believe, because we raced twice. So I raced on a Friday and a Saturday.
Oh, were you in a quad?
Yeah, so
or a mixed quad?
I was an 8.
I was an 8.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Yes, it was. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to race a 2K because I do a multitude of meters. So it's finally I get to use all that base work really for 2K, And I'm excited about this coming year. I know that you all have a lot of new programs that are going to be implemented into the Crew Classic. One of them is the cancer survivors. They have a particular category for cancer survivors this year. And I am a multiple cancer survivor. And so I will be racing with Beth Cole with the Cancer Survivors Rowers Network boat. And a young lady who's also a cancer survivor with the team I also race with, Austin Rowing Club, will be in that boat with me. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so glad that San Diego Crew Classic is incorporating that, because it will inspire others to want to become a part of rowing. And they'll say, hey, they went through what I've gone through. They're rowing. Maybe I should give it a shot. Or those who have a rowing background and have left for a while and have had the challenge of defeating cancer, and they're on that road of recovery. to want to come back and race next year too. So enough about that. I want to talk to you. Like, what do you do? What is your role? What's coming up this year?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm so excited to hear that you're coming. Yeah, I've talked to Beth and she wanted to do, we have Freedom Rows every year. I know that this year Freedom Rows, they lost their grant through the government. And so it's a smaller program, but we're still hosting them. We're still having Freedom Rows at the Crew Classic. So we're very excited to have them. And then we're going to expand that portion and include the Survivors Rowing Network after the Freedom Rows. So they're going to race. They, do their thing, and then we will have you guys right afterwards. And we're very excited to host that. We do Rowing Cares, which is for the Southern California community every year in October. We kind of do it as a run up to the head of the Charles. And and we do it as a fundraiser, right? The money all goes back to Rowing Cares, just like it does for all of the Rowing Cares races that are throughout the United States. And then it supports local cancer local organizations that support cancer survivors. So we have one that we support, Breast Cancer Angels, that literally, the money goes to helping people that are going through treatment. Scripps Cancer Research here in San Diego, it helps with like mammograms, things like that. And then we just recently got a Survivors Rowing Network team at the Community Rowing San Diego, so it'll support them as well. So it has multiple aspects that it's supporting here locally, and then we're excited to be incorporating it into the Crew Classic as well, which is completely new this year.
I love that. Oh, yeah. That's fantastic. I didn't know all of that was going on. That's wonderful. For some that don't know, I was actually diagnosed with male breast cancer. So, I have that rare connection with any person who's had breast cancer, not just female, but male as well. And so when they talk about breast cancer research, a lot of times they only think it is synonymous with women, but it is not. It's not. Both genders, yeah. And so hearing that is wonderful. And just cancer research in general is because, we always talk about how cancer can either touch you directly or indirectly. Someone who's had it, or you might have had it. It's just one of those things that it's horrible, but I love to hear programs that are helping with research and funding. That's fantastic. So what else do you have on the horizon for 25?
So we also this year we introduced, so we're continuing a lot of things that we've introduced over the last 3 years, right? We have Masters Rowing now on Friday. That's why I asked if you could come on Friday. And so we have several races that afternoon. And then we have our pretty traditional schedule, Saturday and Sunday, which is a mixture of collegiate rowing, youth rowing, and Masters Rowing, along with Freedom Rows and Survivors Rowing Network. So there's a lot of different organizations and groups that are represented there. Then on Sunday, at the end of racing, we're calling them the Foundation Challenge Dashes. They're 500-meter races. And and that's because people have asked, we're a traditional 2K race. People had asked if they could maybe have a shorter race. So we said, we can do one at the end of the schedule. That way, honestly, it keeps my water operations team happy because they can start to remove the start line and we just use the finish line. And you always want to keep your volunteers and those people working for you happy, especially when they've put in 3 days of work and they're ready to be done. But so we're going to have Foundation Challenge Dashes, and it's, and they are, a lot of the Masters races on Friday are club races. So you need to be representing the same club all weekend long. The Foundation Challenge Dashes are like, you can race with anybody. You can make up any boat you want with anybody. It's composite. It's like, have fun with it and go out and have a good time. I've had people ask if they could come in costume. I don't care how you race. Race. Have a good time. And hopefully it ends up being successful and we can continue to either grow that or just keep it the same. I'm open. I'm actually very open in regards to change for the regatta, as long as it doesn't really extend the length of it too much.
Yes.
Because the people that work for us, we have about 400 volunteers that work for us throughout the course of the weekend and the week leading up to and the week afterwards. So we want to keep those people happy.
Absolutely.
We want them to return for years to come. We have some people. Our water operations manager has been with us for, I think, 35 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
So he is saying that it might be time to retire. So we're working with a couple of his understudies to see who is best suited to that in the future. But he's training people, and I think that's part of it too. You know, it's an organization that has a lot of people that like to be a part of it.
That's right. That's right. I will say, when I arrived, having watched the regatta so many years on live stream, but to be there and to see it, it was so nice. I loved it. All of the vendors, how it was set up. And then further down, it was almost like they had a food pavilion, and then you had the large screen. And I know some people didn't know about it because they didn't venture further down. But once I ventured further down and I saw it on my right side, oh my God, what is this over here? It was, and you have such a great view of the actual race itself for the first almost 1,000 meters or so. And then you can turn and watch the rest of it on the big screen and see the finish. It was wonderful, and such great food. I loved it.
Yeah.
The different varieties and choices. Because, you know, you go to some regattas, maybe one or two things is kind of the same. Not in that case. It was fantastic. I really liked it a lot.
I will say our food trucks like to make sure that they're all different so that you have choices, but that's also, I think, a competition thing on their part.
Oh yeah.
He's also selling burgers. I sell burgers. So we do end up with a lot of food, and there's some of them that people request year after year. Like, you know, people love tacos. We do fish tacos here in San Diego. That's a beach thing. And then there's the waffle truck, which the kids, it's one my son is always at every year. And of course, you know, coffee and all sorts of things. And we have, you know, we also have other areas, like there's VIP areas and things like that, that also, you know, include coffee and things like that. So there's lots of options there. And I think it is one of those regattas where there's something for everyone. Yes, and we're really happy to have the ability to represent so many different groups in rowing too, right? I think like 5 years ago, we introduced sculling for the youth rowers. And that was so that, because there's a lot of clubs that's the way they grow, right? They grow their youth programs by starting in sculling. And then as they get bigger and they can have more people in boats, then they switch to sweep. So that was, you know, our goal was, this is how we grow the sport. We have sculling and sweep. And then for the masters, we did that as well, right? In 2022, we introduced 2022 or 2023, 2023, sorry, we introduced master sculling, and that's been very popular. Our women's masters club race, it traditionally for the quad sells out within 2 weeks. So it hasn't sold out yet this year, but it's very close.
Okay. I was going to ask that if someone is watching or interested, they need to start applying now, if not already applied.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is, we let you can just sign up. Okay. As long as you are, you know, a club that is sanctioned by US Rowing, right? Like you have to be, you can sign up. So it's not, and once the slots are full, they're full. That just is what it is. So but the quads it's a fun race for us. It's fun to see. I think the masters have really enjoyed having the opportunity to do sweep or sculling. And
I know I did. I really did. I was so excited to be able to sweep, having watched all these eights go down the course so many times, and to finally have my opportunity to do the same thing. And it's funny, I have a friend who actually lives in San Diego, is from Great Britain, and he's a photographer. Got some of the best photos. It was so nice to see.
I'd love to see them.
I'll make sure you see them. He did such a great job. I wanted to ask you the dates for those who are not aware. What are your dates for the Crew Classic? Geez, this year for 2025.
It is March 28th to the 30th, 2025. Traditionally, it is the last weekend in March. We have to occasionally move it around for Easter. And what we noticed last year is that it's harder actually for people to come in April than it is March. So in general, we're probably going to always move it up from now on. So it'll either be the second, the third or fourth weekend in March.
Right. That'll be, and the weather. For those
The
who are
weather is traditionally great.
Yeah.
I did ask you if you were there on Friday because last year we got so lucky last year. We were very worried about the fact that there was a storm coming through.
Yeah.
And it rained until like 1 p.m. Racing started at 2:30.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful until 5 p.m. when the wind kicked in, actually kicked in like 5:30, and it was like 30-mile-an-hour winds. And then it was gone. So we got so lucky last year, and then it was completely gone. There was no more storms. It was like, there's some wind at different times of the day because that's the way it is anywhere in on the ocean. We live on the ocean. It's a beach. Like, of course, there's wind either going one way or the other at different times of day. But all in all, I think the conditions last year were amazing.
They were nice. I was there. I remember when everybody was under one of those trees because it was raining earlier, when people were rigging and getting ready to go out. But the weather was great. And, having lived on an island, I know how it is. You're going to have breezes. That's just the way it is. And being on water.
Speaking of an island, do you Club Nautico de San Juan? I was like, did you ever row for them?
No, they're actually not a real club on the island.
Well, they are a yachting club, right?
Yes, they're a yacht club, but they've never rowed on the island. I didn't meet.
I hear that there's like a double and a single or something like that.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, because I went up to the gentleman who was representing them last year, and I was speaking Spanish to him, and he's like, looking at me like, what? So it was kind of funny, but he said, "Oh yes, I'm from Puerto Rico." The way he said it, I was like, "Okay," but it was fine. It was fine.
He does live in San Juan.
Yeah, he lives there. Oh, yeah. I know where he lives because we were talking about that. He actually stores his boat at the old boathouse where I used to train.
Okay.
But the gentlemen who were in the boat were all from Brown. They were, and my buddy Max Bessler, who does a podcast, he's from Dartmouth. He said, "So if you're from Brown, why are you not in the Brown alum boat?" He made the joke, said, "Oh, you must not have been fast enough to get into the Brown alum, so that's why you rode from Puerto Rico." And it's like, okay, but they'll be there. I hope that UT is coming. I'm not sure yet. I don't know if they're.
I haven't heard from Dave, but he traditionally does come. He does love San Diego, right? He lived in Northern California for years and always came when he was coaching up at Cal, I think.
He was at Cal.
And he does traditionally come. He likes to come here, and we love to have Dave. I've always last year he was concerned about the fact that there was no practice on Friday afternoon, and I told him, I said, "Dave, I'll work with you. You just got to tell me what the issue is." I didn't know it was an issue. It wasn't an issue last year. Didn't know it would be an issue this year, and then it ended up being so windy he wouldn't have been able to go on the water anyway. But so we're this year we'll have practice hours on Friday for an hour.
Okay. All right.
We're like I said, we're very open to change as long as there are some things we aren't able to do, right? Like like you said earlier, we're mostly eights and quads. Like we're a big boat regatta. Yes. And the thing is the schedule is pretty full. Okay. The way that we have been able to help smaller clubs, like I said, is by incorporating sculling, which you can have. The big boats are smaller boats. And so it takes less people to fill one out. Because I know I get asked about Cox 4s all the time by both collegiate teams and
I was going to ask you that too. Oh, that's my favorite boat class.
And it's so funny. It's just too much. Because literally all of those groups are asking for it. So if I add it for one group, I have to add it for all of those groups, and it becomes an enormous number of boats.
It would be an extra day almost.
It likely would be close to an extra day, yes.
Wow.
And I would love to. I would love to be able to do that. But even just doing Friday afternoon, people resisted that. So we know that this is probably about the maximum amount of time we can have for racing at this point.
Yeah. You're almost becoming, it seems like the West Coast head of the Charles type thing, because everyone goes to the head of the Charles and you have those set days, and it's like one of those benchmarks. This is head race season. This is head of the Charles, and it seems like the official outdoor season kicks off when you go to San Diego Crew Classic. It has always been that on my radar. I knew it's outdoor racing season now. No more indoor erging, no more, steady states are over. It's time to race,
We do hope, like, especially East Coast crews, that you guys will take the time to like get out of your erging and come here and row and, get a little rowing in where it's nice and warm versus being out on the East Coast where it's like, maybe the ice is broken, maybe it hasn't.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It is just such a beautiful venue. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, is SeaWorld that is where the start is. Because I thought I heard seals or something, making noises and people were clapping and cheering. So what other, if someone is coming to San Diego Crew Classic and they're going to race, and I know you have particular vendors that will be on site. What vendors will you have there?
I know right now, so most of the vendors that are really easy to talk about are the ones that are our sponsors because they've already committed to being there. And I can talk about a couple of people that traditionally are there that I would expect to be there as well. But I know that, traditionally we have like Concept 2, of course, Orboard also, by the way, Orboard, if you haven't seen, they're in Tahiti right now. That looks like amazing. Concept 2, they have their new machines, their strength erg.
Yeah, I'm an ambassador with Concept 2. So,
okay. Yeah, there you go. And I know they're very excited about this machine.
Yeah, it is really cool. I got to try it at the Charles. So that's going to be great. You're having it there as well.
I believe the USD women's coach, not men's coach, Dave Cormier, held the record at the head of the Charles for like something in regards to strength on the machine. Like he was very excited to be like, I currently hold the record. I don't know if he still does, but he did back then. It's been a month. Okay, so there's them active and fit now. So American Specialty Health has supported our regatta for like 40 years. They are a local health company, but it's not health insurance. They provide more like fitness type motivating things like, chiropractors, massage therapists, things like that fill out insurance. Anyway, but they have a group Active and Fit Now, which is like a gym membership that's national, and you pay like a monthly fee, which is pretty low. I want to say it's like $30 or $40. And you can you go to like thousands of gyms across the United States. You just go and look it up wherever you are, and you can go there. So it's nice for people that travel. The Marines have been a great, they're a great sponsor too. They're looking at this point, I think what people don't understand is that there's multiple ways to be a part of the military. You can either be there straight out of high school. Yes, that's an option. But also it's once you've graduated from college, there's more like an officer's path. And I think that that's traditionally one that rowers are more interested in. And so that's something that they're going to, I think, focus on this year at the Crew Classic is more the officer's path. So it's good information. To me, I didn't even know that was a thing. I just thought, you just recruit people straight out of high school. And I've been told no, that I have complete and total misconception of the military. And we recently added Philadelphia Insurance Company. They're actually going to be the sponsor of the Freedom Rows and Survivors Rowing Network VIP area this year. So they are sponsoring that. Yeah.
All right. That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's say if someone is interested in being a vendor at the San Diego Crew Classic, would they need to contact you, or who would they need to contact?
They could absolutely contact me, Bobbie at crewclassic.org. It's Bobbie. However, vending doesn't open until December 2nd. And so if you follow us on social media, it's Crew Classic, again, at Crew Classic for Instagram and Facebook. We will announce it on social media, and there will be a link, and you can just go there, fill out the form, and we will get back to you.
All right. Fantastic. Let me ask you this. Did you ever row? Were you ever a rower?
I did. In fact, I've rowed for 29 years now, I guess.
Oh. So do you race in the Classic as well?
I have raced in the Crew Classic. I did our first year back from COVID, but I haven't since then. Honestly, that first year back, I was in one of the first races on Saturday, and it was rough, like having to do both. So I thought, I don't know, I might do a dash this year. That is a possibility because it's like 500 meters. Forgive me for this, everyone who's listening, but like, I don't really feel like I need to train too hard for a 500-meter race. Just like, and then, but yeah, I rode for UCLA, and I rode for UCLA actually when the women's team was a club team. So I paid to row. I must really love the sport. Yeah. And I coached for 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I run a regatta. So, and I love running this regatta. It was my favorite regatta. It was the first one I went to. There was a really big regatta where and I walked in, I was like, oh wow, this is a big sport, because all I knew was at our local boathouse. And the thing that inspired me there was seeing an 80-year-old who was going out in a single every day. I was like, oh, I can do this for a really long time. Right. But yeah, and I've raced for all sorts of teams here in Southern California. I've raced for, Long Beach Rowing Association. I've raced for Los Angeles Rowing Club. I've raced for SoCal Scullers. I've raced for San Diego Rowing Club. I'm a member at ZLAC, which is the oldest women's rowing club in the world here in San Diego.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've raced in some composite crews for some East Coast teams too.
Okay. So you have definitely have some rowing experience. I think that works wonderful when you have the rowing experience. You've raced in regattas, and now you're heading a regatta. You know what it should look like and what it should not look like. Try to ensure that it doesn't look like the bad ones.
The athletes are always my focus. That's always what matters the most to me, is do the athletes have a great race? And that's like, I can deal with if a vendor doesn't have a great time, or, but if the athletes aren't having a great time, that to me is a reflection of the regatta more so than anything else. So athletes are definitely my focus. That's why I coached for as long as I did. I loved being a part of seeing athletes do well.
That's right. It's funny you said that you went to UCLA. A teammate of mine and friend, Fred Fry's daughter, rode for UCLA. And there was another young lady at ARC. I can't remember her name, but she rode for UCLA. She was actually in a boat when the sea lion jumped into the boat. I don't know if you remember that story.
That was a few years after me.
Yeah, she was the seat right behind the young lady that the sea lion jumped in and stayed in the boat and fell asleep. But I thought that was such a cool story. Do you ever see dolphin out on the water? Because I was in Puerto Rico, I just love those. I love to see them.
I used to coach at San Diego State, and some of our athletes convinced one of the other coaches, it wasn't me. I was like, that is not true. As soon as he told me this story, they convinced him that they let the dolphins at SeaWorld out to like get exercise in the bay. So he was like, oh, those must be, we saw dolphins one day. He goes, those must be the SeaWorld dolphins. And I said, they are not. No, that's not a thing. No. Told you this. He was like, the girls. And, but so yes, there are dolphins. They do not come from SeaWorld. They just come from the ocean. They're wild.
Exactly. That's funny. I was hoping to see one. But I unfortunately did not have the opportunity.
I think there's too much traffic in the bay during that time. We have 40 boats along the perimeter. And then we have all of the boats on the water. There's like 80 to 120 shells on the water at a time. So I think it's too much for the dolphins. They don't want to hang around that kind of busyness. So I think that's why you don't see them. I'm sorry, while you're there. If you came earlier in the week, and occasionally when there is like a little bit of like something going on in the ocean, they'll come into the bay. So it is that time of year though that they come in.
So
calmer waters.
Someone wants to watch you or follow you on social media, because I know we're going to be coming to an end in just a moment. How can they reach you? Do you have different social media platforms that you use? Besides, do you have Instagram, Facebook? And so what are your social media platforms, and how could they contact you?
The best ones would be Crew Classics. So on Instagram, I think that's where we're also the most responsive. It's not just me, it's other people too. And Facebook works as well, but I know that our Facebook isn't as active. Like Instagram is definitely the one where like things are happening all the time.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much, and I can't wait to be at the San Diego Crew Classic again this year. I don't know how many races I'll be rowing because with the Cancer Survivor Rowers Network, I think it's separate. So would I have the opportunity to race in another event as well? So hopefully two. So we'll see. But I'll definitely look forward to racing there and kicking off the outdoor season. And I look forward to meeting you as well.
I look forward to meeting you too. I think I have met you, by the way, but I met you at an event at the Head of the Charles last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere. So
you are
yes.
everywhere.
Well, thank you so much. I really have appreciated this. And so for those who might have a short-term memory, remember the San Diego Crew Classic is March 28th through the 30th, 2025. And you can reach them on social media at Instagram at crewclassic.org, at crewclassic, my apologies. Yeah. And then the email is at crewclassic.org.
That's Bobbie at crewclassic.org. That one works for sure.
All
right. And we're open. Entries are open on Regatta Central right now, so you can go and sign up. Right.
So they better hurry because it's going to fill up quickly.
It will fill up. So, yes, the events do fill up. So, all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate this. I learned some things today, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And you can catch the replay of this session on readyrowusa.com and several other places on social media. You can continue to ask questions and put your comments up on those destinations, or Bobbie Smith or Napoleon Griffin. Thank you for joining us.